Right, come on, you four-eyed fat-faced fool. Tell us what's going to be in the new podcast from the two mics.
Well, plenty of buffoonery from you and lots of sense from me. What else?
You're lying to the audience. That's a sin. You could be fired for that.
A sin?
Yes.
Really?
Lil Tibial Band. Lil Tiblial. No, hang on. Lilot Iblali. Ilotibial. Ilotibial. I say 999. Well. Everybody knows your modus operandi now. What you do
Operandi.
is... Operandi.
Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry, on this auspicious day. Big FA Cup weekend.
Why is it auspicious?
Big night for the two mics. We're going to Birmingham later.
Yeah, we are going to Birmingham later. And
where there's a massive weekend game as well on Saturday.
There certainly is. It's a repeat of the league game,
it is.
earlier in the week.
Do you think that will cause us problems of getting out of the city?
No, won't cause me any problems because I'm going on the first-class train.
First class?
Yes, absolutely.
Have you got your ticket sorted, have you?
I've got my ticket sorted, yeah.
It's not going to be one of those trains you're not allowed to drink on, is it? It might be on a Saturday.
It
might be on a Saturday.
No,
they might not let you
be.
take any drink on.
No, it won't be. Because the fans going to the game in the Midlands come from the Midlands. They're not travelling to London, are they?
Well, some people will come from other places,
There might be one or two come from the south who are exiled.
I wouldn't be at all
West
surprised
Brom
if you get kiboshed by a non-alcohol rule.
Well, it's only an hour and a half from Birmingham New Street to Euston.
Oh, you think you can manage that?
Oh, I'm not going to perish for lack of alcohol. And I won't be drinking tomorrow anyway, because it'll be on the way up.
That's good.
And I'll be preparing for tomorrow night's show at the Birmingham Repertory Theatre.
Yes.
And I do take exception to you trying to make fun of me for having my hair coiffured this morning.
Is that what you call it?
It was coiffured.
How long did you spend under the lights?
Well, I didn't spend 4 hours, did I? I got there at 8 o'clock this morning. I got in before the guy opened up. The guy normally opens at 10 o'clock, right?
Yeah. Well, why did you go there at 8?
Because I wanted the salon to myself. I wanted all the salon facilities.
What are you, Tom Cruise now?
Well,
I can only go to somewhere where there's nobody else there.
No, I just,
In case you get mobbed.
No. Thursday's a busy day for him, and I said, well, look, let's do it early, John. John's an Italiano.
Is he?
Yeah, he's my stylist.
Stylist.
And, what are you laughing at?
Is he still training?
Is he still training? Yeah. Is that a joke? Is it?
Hey?
It's a joke?
Well, it is a joke.
That's trying to be a joke.
Yeah,
anyway,
well, it doesn't look that different, really.
Sitting where you are, with your hair looking like it is, filth, absolute filth, how can you sit there and have a go at me? My hair is immaculate now. It looks beautiful. It smells beautiful.
People can judge for themselves. I've sent a picture out.
A female member of the staff early on looked at me with that twinkle in her eye when she saw my hair this evening. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. And they look at you and they think, as I said...
Some piece of dust in her eye.
As I said last night, it's not like you've been dragged through a hedge backwards. It's like somebody's dragged a hedge across your hair.
Yeah.
It looks disgraceful.
Does it?
And I'm going to point that out to the audience tomorrow at the old Birmingham Rep when we get on stage there for our biggest ever live show. I'm looking forward to that, by the way. It's going to be great.
It is
looking forward to meeting the people of Birmingham. Thank you very much indeed for inviting us along. Well, not inviting us along, but accommodating us.
We invited them along.
Yeah, we invited you along. And it's going to be a great night. I can tell you that.
It is going to be a great night.
Now, I want to talk to you about leadership and Louis van Gaal.
Yes. Did you like his explanation of that game against Arsenal?
What was the explanation?
Well, we just played it. Did you not hear it?
No, I didn't know.
Well, you didn't hear it? All right, we better play it again then.
I was out in the research facility.
No, you were sitting right here.
Oh, was I? Oh, right, OK.
Can we hear it again?
Right, go on.
Can we hear it again?
Here it goes.
There's a lot of talking going on in there, but they don't seem to be listening.
It's a game between 11 players against 11 players on a high level, because Arsenal and Manchester United are placed third and fourth in the Premier League. So it's nearly a final, I think.
So there you are. So now you know what it's about.
It's not nearly a final, is it? I heard you
well, it is nearly a
final.
That. It's a quarter-final.
It's a quarter-final. That's two away from a final, isn't
so
it?
it's nearly a final.
Well, it's nearly a Wembley appearance.
And it is 11 against 11 against when somebody gets sent off, of course, for spitting.
Yeah, what I found was remarkable was old Louis van Gaal was asked earlier in a press conference, is there any problem in the relationship between yourself and your deputy, Ryan Giggs?
Yes.
To which he said... we
can hear him saying that.
Oh, yeah, excellent.
Yeah, have a listen to that.
Yeah.
I cannot answer that because I want to have that rumours.
Is it a good working relationship, yourself and Ryan? Do you feel that you work very well?
No, we have a very bad relationship.
Would it be fair then to say that any suggestion that...
No, we have a very bad relationship.
I'm not sure I believe that.
No, because I'm very irritated because of this question, because everybody can see that we have a very good relationship
You see,
and we
he's got a bit mad, isn't he?
Very hard together, and not only with Ryan.
I think he's gone completely mad. I mean, the point is, that is Louis van Gaal's version of a joke.
Yeah.
No, we have a very bad relationship.
Yeah.
No, we have a very bad relationship.
Yeah.
Very bad.
But I mean, it's all based on the way that
they celebrated the goal.
Well, the way that Van Gaal kind of like started shaking his fist in Ryan Giggs' face.
He goes and starts pumping the air.
And Ryan Giggs didn't look very impressed.
Ryan Giggs looked like he'd just come off the set of Coronation Street and was looking at him askance and what's going on.
That'll
and
be
all
on
that kind
account
of
of all
stuff.
that meditating that he does, right?
Well, it could be, yeah, but I don't understand this, because if you're a leader like Louis van Gaal is, then you've got to show leadership qualities, which means accommodating your deputy. You know, whenever I've had deputies, I've been in very senior positions in the media world.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever I've had deputies, I've accommodated them, despite their weaknesses. Obviously, they have weaknesses, and that's why I was the boss.
Have you always treated them well?
Oh, treated them very well, always.
Have you always trusted them?
To an extent.
Yeah.
To an extent.
Have you ever fired one of them?
Occasionally.
You have fired one of your deputies?
Well, it had to be done.
Well, that's hardly leadership, is it?
No, it had to be done.
That's hardly leadership.
He said he was off ill and had the flu and couldn't get in.
Right.
I then found out he'd played cricket on a Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
So I fired him.
You fired him unceremonially?
Absolutely. I fired him for A, duplicity, B, lying, C, for if he was ill and he shouldn't have been ill and he should have been in bed, and D, he was getting on my nerves anyway, and
So if it had been somebody that wasn't getting on your nerves, this is where life can be unfair sometimes.
No.
Because basically you fired him because you didn't like him.
No.
You just used it as an excuse.
No. The getting on my nerves bit means an accumulation of displeasure was building up inside me.
Yeah.
And he gave me the excuse to
You'd be a nightmare to work for, though, wouldn't you?
erupt my boil of displeasure was lanced.
Your boil of displeasure?
Yeah, was lanced when he suddenly said
That's a bit like your cup runneth over.
Yeah, he couldn't get in on a Sunday because he was ill. I came in myself to direct operations as usual.
Didn't you have a number 3 guy that could have done that?
Wasn't good enough to do it, I'm afraid. It was, it was a
well, surely that's your fault. If you're a great leader, you should surround yourself with very capable deputies.
How many deputies do you need?
Well, obviously more than one.
Lead from the front, mate. Lead from the front.
A 7-day, 24-hour operation. You need more than one deputy.
Well, I don't. Okay, I can do it by remote control. But anyway,
this is the problem. Trouble with people like you is that you're a control freak, right? And you don't allow the reins of power to pass to anybody else. So when your deputy's actually in charge, you're probably on the phone every 5. How many times have you phoned a deputy when he's in charge?
How many times what?
How many times did you phone the deputy when he was supposedly in charge?
What do you mean, how many times did I phone him?
Well, you wouldn't leave him alone, right?
No, it wasn't the case at all. I didn't need his help, he needed mine.
No, I'm telling you.
Now, if occasionally he was running the show, I would phone him maybe 6 times in a day.
6 times?
Just to find out what's going on.
Why wouldn't you leave him to get on with it?
Well, I did leave him to get on with it, but
you
sometimes...
phoned him 6 times?
Sometimes I'd hear something, I think, that's not quite right, we're going to tweak that, or we're going to touch this, or don't like
but see, that's because you're a control freak.
No, I'm not. I'm just...
You fear leaving somebody else in charge in case they actually do a better job than you.
Not at all.
That's entirely what it's about.
Not at all. My life is based on one maxim, and that is the pursuit of excellence.
Yeah, really?
And if excellence
How's that going?
It's going very well, thank you.
Apart from with your hairstyle, obviously.
I'm not going to react to that. You know, if you can't take these things seriously, you're going to look like a shambolic wreck on that stage in Birmingham tomorrow, and I'm going to point that out to the audience.
Everybody knows. Are you bringing your cheap suit with you as well?
I'm not bringing a cheap suit.
Well, you're bringing an expensive suit.
I'm not bringing the suit.
You're not.
I'm going to be.
What are you going to be wearing?
I'm going to be. What's the sort of dress equivalent of a la carte for a menu?
Well, it means you're going to bring lots of different clothes with you.
Well, not necessarily.
So you can choose while you're there?
Yeah, maybe.
Is that what you're going to do?
Yeah, I'm going to bring a bit of my wardrobe.
A bit of mix and match, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, a bit of mix and match, that's right. No, you're absolutely right, that's what I'm going to do. And the reason I'm going on the train is so that I can arrive in a calm fashion.
Yeah.
You're taking the old Land Rover, right?
I am, yeah.
You're going to arrive there all hot and bothered and stressed out.
As I've told you, it's a very comfortable car to drive. I'll be very relaxed.
Packed up on you on the way in tonight, didn't it?
It's absolutely fine.
No, it did pack up.
No, it didn't.
No, it did. Don't tell lies. It packed up.
Well, how do you know that?
Because we went down to see whether it was draining your battery.
Rubbish.
When I was giving you some props for the show tomorrow, and I know it packed up.
Tonight.
I know it packed up on you.
You're talking absolute nonsense.
No, I'm not. I'm not. You're lying to the audience. That's a sin. You could be fired for that.
A sin?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
He's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham. We are the two Mikes. There will be a podcast out later on. I'll try and calm him down. Have a look at the picture of his hair. It's hilarious. This is Talk Sport.
It's good.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. The enduring home of football.
It's modern radio, only better.
Talk Sport.
Let's This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. We are the two Mikes, and with a lot of action on Twitter about your hair.
Well, hang on. I didn't even know you put it out. You put out a picture of me. That's an invasion of my privacy.
Well, you knew I was taking a picture. What do you think I was going to do with it? You were smiling at the camera. What do you mean you didn't know?
I thought that was for the Birmingham show tomorrow. I didn't know that you would invade my privacy.
We're not doing the show tomorrow.
Tonight. Put it out a header.
Have you been on the Red Bull again? Have you been on the Red Bull again? Porky, what have you done to your hair? Says Steve. Here's one from Jeff, who says, Porky, do love you dearly, but the time has come for a #1 barber cut. The beard's lovely, but you're kidding yourself on with that barnet.
What?
And here's one from We Are the Resistance, who says, the front of Porky's hair looks like a ferret on steroids. David says, 120 quid for that monstrosity. Means you got more money than sense. It just goes on and on and on. On and on.
There's one here which says £120 for that, Porky. I wouldn't pay £1.20.
No,
looks like someone tied you to the back of MG's Land Rover and dragged you through the streets.
Yeah, which hair got cut, says Randall. Because it doesn't look as if you had that much cut off. It does look tidier, I have to say that. But I don't think it's doing you any favours.
There's one here who's not interested in my hair. He's going on about my shirt. Kenny B says, MP needs to get rid of the grey stubble, very untidy, and far too many buttons undone on his shirt. Tidy yourself up, Porky. That's a bit harsh.
And these buttons have been sewn on by the housekeeper, by the way.
No, that's a different shirt.
A different shirt.
Aid here says Barney Rubble. Barney Rubble. That was Fred Flintstone's
That's
mate,
very good.
Mm.
Absolutely right. And Zoe Bond says, that new hairstyle makes you look like the male parrot from the movie Rio.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen Rio?
No, of course I haven't. No.
Why not?
Well, why would I watch a movie about a parrot?
Well, it's an animated film. It's one of these, sometimes these films make very good watching in the afternoons.
I see Liz is up and about again. She says, MG, can you tell him, I presume that's me, not to shout and calm him down? Look into the light, Mr. Parry, for God's sake.
Yeah, truly a correct thing said. Parry's not the man of the people anymore. With a haircut worth 120 quid, I think he's lost touch and maybe his marbles.
Well, it wasn't just a haircut, was it? It was grooming. I was coiffured. You know, when you get coiffured.
What did they do to you exactly?
Well,
what did they do to you?
They make it look good. With.
Well, they must have looked better than that when you came out of the place, then.
What do you mean?
If that's the best they can do.
No.
If that's the best they can do.
I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's a work of art.
Well, I think you'd be taken to the cleaners.
Why are we playing the old darts music?
Well, because there was a very interesting scenario on the darts earlier on, wasn't there, between Peter Wright and Michael Van Gerwen.
Oh, Peter Wright, the one who looks like a cockerel. Literally.
Well, this is pretty good coming from you.
Yeah.
Michael Van Gerwen, who looks like a cue ball, really, doesn't he, I suppose you might say.
Michael Van Gerwen, I met him. I played darts against Michael Van Gerwen.
Did you?
At a promotion last year in a darts club in London. You know, it was a betting company got me to do it.
How'd you get on?
I got on okay.
You and I did one of those, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. That's right, yeah.
How come you didn't ask me to do this one, then?
Well, I was asked on my own individual.
Really? Oh, it's another one of those?
Yeah.
You've never mentioned it before?
Oh.
You didn't say, would you like to come?
Sorry, I haven't told you, have I? Oh, so I have told you, but I haven't received your thanks yet. I'm trying to get you into QPR for the Everton game, right?
No, I said thank you, but I'm not sure I can make it, because the date isn't... I'm not sure the date is going to be possible. Well, you better have,
because my host has actually expanded his table, in the executive dining room.
You didn't ask me beforehand.
In the executive dining room.
Well, no, you didn't ask me beforehand if I could make it.
He's had to find you a seat in the best part of the stand.
I'm not sure I can go.
Well, you better damn well make your mind up very quickly.
Well, I did text you an answer to your... you've obviously forgotten.
My pal is making a great effort.
You've forgotten because you've been under the hairdryer. You've been under the hairdryer all afternoon, so your head's been slightly warmed up and, it's overheated.
Getting back
what I said to you was, I'm not entirely sure I can go because it's on a Sunday and I need to be in Sussex on the Monday.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I've got a life. I've got other people that are responsible, that I'm responsible for.
When it was on Saturday, this game, you couldn't go because you go back home on the Friday.
No, I can go on a Saturday because I don't go and get back down on a Sunday. But now they've moved it to a Sunday, I'm not sure I can go.
Oh, you see, you're pathetic.
Why am I pathetic? I've got children to look after. I've got children to take to school.
You don't organise your life properly.
Oh, right. Well, so I just tell them they can make their own way to school. Is that what I should do? So I could go to a football match with you?
You're too busy drinking £70 bottles of champagne and disorganise your life. Now,
Anyway, tell me what happened with Peter Wright.
The dart situation, old Peter Wright, what happens is it's getting towards the end of the game and he's on the hockey and he needs a double top to finish off Michael Van Gerwen in this particular part of their match.
Double 20, that is, isn't it?
Double top, double 20.
Well, I'm just saying it for people who don't know.
Well, everybody knows a double top.
Well,
not
everybody knows. No, you're in the
fool.
Communication business. It might be somebody's listening and going, what on earth is a double top?
Anyway, Peter Wright turns to the crowd. And by the way, I've done the famous walk at Ali Pali, don't you?
Have you?
Touching the hands of all the fans as you come down. And by the way, led in by two of the most gorgeous-looking women in the world.
Touching the hands of the fans?
Of the fans, yeah.
Why are you touching the hands of the fans?
Well, you high-five them on the way down.
Well, why do you do that?
Because I was playing, when I got to the bottom, I played against Richard Lewis, the sports reporter of the Daily Express. And we had a game of darts each for charity.
You've done a lot of this, haven't you?
Yeah, I won.
A lot of this stuff.
Anyway, so the point is, Peter Wright, instead of taking his shot, walks away from the hockey and goes round the platform, waving his hands upwards in the same sort of gesture that Jose Mourinho once used at Stamford Bridge to try and get the crowd to...
Oh, what, before he takes his own shot?
Exactly, exactly.
Right.
And Michael van Gerwen, who is, literally got a head like a white snooker ball.
Yeah.
Literally.
He has.
Literally.
Bald as a coot, that used to be described.
Yeah. And he's standing there, basically looking bemused. Peter Wright then goes back to the hockey, throws it off, misses. Yeah. So he's actually done himself in. His dart dips below the double top.
Because the audience were putting him off,
into the 20. Well, I don't know. But anyway, Michael van Gerwen, very unimpressed, and after the game says, I thought it was very unprofessional. And I think he's right. Very unprofessional.
And to try and sort of goad the crowd in his favour.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of thing you do.
But that's what you do. Don't be ridiculous.
You did it. In fact, you did it at the last two Head and Chicken shows that we've done. That's precisely what you do. You jump out of your chair. You jump out of your chair. You go forward closer to the audience than I am, so that you can kind of take over the whole place. Make out that it's all about you. Start trying to rile them up into some kind of anti-me fervour because you think that's going to make you more popular.
No,
because you are the man that craves popularity.
No,
whereas I just speak the truth and what I think, right? And that's exactly what you do. So the fact that you don't think what he did was a good idea astonishes me.
I'm a communicator, and I like to communicate in the best possible way.
No, you are a populist.
I am a communicator.
All you want is the adulation of the crowd.
No, I don't.
And you would do anything for it. If you were in a gladiatorial scenario,
I don't care about adulation.
If you were in Gladiator and you were one of those guys that had to go before the massed ranks of the crowd in the Colosseum and they demanded that you murdered somebody or killed a poor animal in order to get the adulation, you'd do it. You would do anything in order to get the adulation of the public.
Untrue.
Yes, you would.
And I plead innocent to in any way trying to upstage you on a stage.
You try and do it all the time.
No, Mike, I'm a better communicator than you.
No, you're not.
The audience like me more than they like you.
No, they don't.
The audience feel warmed towards me. They spot my cerebral superiority.
Cerebral. Let me tell you what one of them says.
Superiority, and for that reason, I feel I have to spend a little bit more time integrating with the audience in a way you can't because you're so laid back. You're horizontal sometimes.
But I'm much more genuine than you, as you will know from these tweets that I'm getting here.
A genuine dumbbell.
Here's what Mark says. I thought Porky was.
Cough, I should say.
I thought Porky was so named because of his extra weight, but I now think it's because of all the fibs he tells. What? Hashtag Pinocchio. And then he says Porky is a modern day Walter Mitty character. Hashtag fantasist.
What's that based on?
That's based on listening to you for weeks and weeks and weeks and months and months and months and years and years and years.
You tell me one untruth that I've uttered. One.
Well, the other night you said, I don't take any tablets. And then I asked you, what about the 27 tablets that you take every single day?
That was definition. That wasn't a lie. I mean, everybody knows I take tablets to keep the old ticker going.
Well, you said, I don't take any tablets.
Well, I don't. For instance, when I get a headache, I don't take, most people go and get one of them headache tablets. What are they called? Nurofen?
Yeah, you can take those.
Yeah, but I don't. I don't rush to the medicine jar to try and relieve me of pain.
Well, the medicine jar's probably been emptied already.
Don't people understand pain is, in fact, a vital indicator of the way your body's working?
Really?
If you try to ignore pain, this is why a lot of footballers are walking around now with wobbly legs.
Yeah.
Because they were injected with cortisone.
But that's partly because they had to have that injection done in order to play, because they wouldn't have been able to play without it.
And the cortisone took the pain away, and they ended up crippled.
Yeah.
So I know all about pain and the effects of pain.
Sound like my father. My father used to talk like that. He used to say there's no point in dulling the pain because the pain is telling you something that you need to know.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
So you got more in common with him than anybody.
Yeah, listen, if you had a car that didn't make a noise...
And he had dementia as well.
If you had a car that... what are you on about? You're mad.
Well, I'm always telling you about your dementia.
If you had a car that didn't make a noise when your big end was going, right?
I don't even know what a big end is.
A big end is the thick end of a piston.
It's a carburettor scenario, isn't it?
Matches your head. No, it's nothing to do with the carburettor.
Isn't it?
No, what an idiot, what an ignorant idiot you are.
No, I don't know anything about car engines. I'm quite happy to admit that.
A piston goes up and down in a chamber.
Yeah.
And when it hits the top, the explosion from the spark of petrol forces it down again.
Where does the spark of petrol come from?
It comes in from the... sorry, it's not a spark of petrol.
Oh, isn't it? Oh.
It's from the... It's from the spark
Well, thanks for explaining it.
Spark plug. It's
the spark plugs.
The spark plug sparks and pushes the piston down again, okay?
I see.
And then
How does it do that, then?
Well, because there's a valve at the top.
Right.
So when the piston is forced up, it hits a spark plug, boof, it goes down again, okay? And the valve's open, let the air out.
But I thought the spark plug only sparked once the engine was actually ignited, as opposed to all the time.
It does, yeah.
So how does the piston keep going?
What are you on about?
Well, presumably the piston has to keep going in order for the engine to run. It doesn't just go once, does it?
Because you start the engine with a starter motor.
Yeah.
It's a different motor. You start it, and once you start it, the internal combustion engine feeds petrol into the engine, which explodes, a little explosion, which pushes the piston one way, and then the spark plug at the top sparks and pushes it back down the other way.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I know, but how does it keep going is what I'm saying.
Through that momentum.
But the spark plugs aren't constantly going, are they?
Spark plugs only spark when the piston hits them.
Right. I thought they only sparked at the beginning when you put the ignition on.
No. What? No, they're there all the time.
Are they?
They're all the time, mate. Listen.
We've seen the time, by the way, talking about all the time.
Yeah, but an internal combustion engine is not a simple matter, but it's far too complicated.
Well, you can't explain it, obviously.
I've just explained it to you. The pistons are linked to gears, which are linked to the crankshaft. And the crankshaft goes into the axle somewhere.
Yeah, there's a crankshaft somewhere in here. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Loads more coming up.
Look at the light!
The unmistakable sound of...
Cars. Gary Newman.
Very well done.
Yeah, see.
I haven't given you too many questions on music. We've got a big quiz coming up for you later on, though, on the FA Cup, because it is FA Cup weekend,
that's fine.
and you were indeed the commissar of communications at the FA.
I was, yes. That's right.
You'd expect to get how many out of an FA Cup quiz then?
8.
8?
Yeah.
I'm calling it 3.
No, you see, you're calling it 3, and that means you're going to make it 3. Everybody knows your modus operandi now. What you do operandi. So if I get the first 2 right, then all of a sudden the third and fourth questions come out of what I call your black box.
Not at all.
Oh, yes, they do. Difficult to answer.
I've got the pictures here. In fact, I'll, just to show how honest it is, I will send out a tweet of the piece of paper from which I'm working after the quiz is over. Right?
After you've gerrymandered it,
after the quiz is over, and everyone will see there are 10 basic questions and 10 basic answers.
Oh, really?
More tweets to read out. William says, qualified mechanic on his CV now. If Porky was in Who's Who, his entry would cover a complete volume.
Well, probably would, yeah.
Are you in Who's Who?
You have to accept to go into Who's Who, and I never have done.
You're not in it, in other words.
It's like when you get a...
You mean you're not in it?
It's like when you get a CBE or something like that. You have to accept the honour, and if you don't...
Have you got a CBE?
Of course I haven't got a CBE.
No. And you're not in Who's Who either.
I don't believe in the honour system.
So you don't exist, actually, in your snobbish world of, the only important people.
I'm getting a lot of appreciation here. It says here, Mike, you are starting to look like... no, not reading that one out. Right, hang on.
You really should read it before you get to it. Why don't you read out what it actually says?
Why did you just pay £120 to look like Friar Tuck? That's a bit harsh.
Yeah.
Friar Tuck was a big fat guy with no hair on top of his head.
I've just actually retweeted one of Dave Levine, our executive producer's tweets, which has got you and Barney Rubble in the exact same pose.
Yeah, that's a bit harsh.
The resemblance is uncanny.
That is a bit harsh. Here's
one from Def, who says, Porky seems to confuse his own opinion with fact. He should sue Steve Coogan because he's the original Partridge.
Oh, yeah, sure. Here, Craig here says, and this is very complimentary, my missus thinks you're looking stunning, Porky. She says the first Mrs. Parry can't be far away. See? So plenty of appreciation.
Beg your pardon? What was that noise you just made?
See? Yeah.
What are you, 10? You know what I didn't actually say to anyone?
What was that?
I mean, I did tweet it out last weekend, but when I got downstairs after last Thursday night's show, right, I looked on my car window as I was about to drive off down to Sussex.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I wasn't driving to Sussex because we were doing the hen and chickens that night.
That's right.
There on my windscreen was what I thought was a parking ticket.
That's right, yeah.
And I thought, oh, God, I can't believe I got a parking ticket because normally at this time of night you don't get it.
That's right.
But what it was, in fact, was not a parking ticket. What it was a handwritten note which looked like it had been written by about a 10-year-old, in which it said these words, MG is a fat cheat.
That's right, yeah.
Signed Porky.
Yeah,
you actually went to the trouble of filling out a piece of blank paper with a biro, and as people pointed out later on, your sort of signature was very small, and MG was very large, showing that you obviously feel in some way inferior to me.
No.
But, I mean, what a ridiculously infantile thing to do.
I'm not going to let you get away with your cheating week after week after week. I'm going to embarrass you. And I noticed
What next? Are you going to spray paint my car?
I might do. Yeah, I might do. I mean, you're
going to vandalise my car?
Your other car's smashed up because a coal lorry backed into it. So
I don't know what backed into it.
I might...
Maybe you did it.
No, No, I didn't.
Maybe you did it.
No, I didn't.
Well,
no.
you've now admitted that you would vandalise.
I'll happily fill a few panels in on your Land Rover if you start cheating tonight, I'm telling you.
Well, I'll just hand over this audio file to the police
Very nice,
next time, and I'll say I believe this man is the chief suspect.
Very nice Twitter here from Dean. He says, Mike, that's me, Porky.
It's also me.
No, this is directed at me.
Are you sure?
No one does first class like you do, Porky. I think that's great.
The man of the people.
Yeah. Safe journey, chaps. Have a great show. Yeah. And that's from Dean. So, we get a lot of appreciation. The only thing is, he sends that in with a picture, which I'll show you now, of a drunk lying prostrate on a British Rail seat.
That'll be you on the train carriage.
But it won't be, because and it's got my face stuck on the top. So that's a bit of a backhanded compliment, Dean, but thank you whenever
So once again, all you failed to read out is something that's actually a little bit deleterious to your reputation. James says, it looks like Father Christmas has had a rough few months since December. That's his verdict on your haircut.
God, Jeff here says more money than sense, Porky, but then again, you've got more everything than sense. Now, this parking thing, right?
Yes.
Now, this interests me because I tell you what.
What parking thing?
Well, this is why we played Cars. This is why we played Cars.
Oh, right, okay.
To talk about the parking
I didn't realise
thing.
there was a connection.
Yeah, what about this in a headline in one of tomorrow's papers? No parking fine if you overstay by just 10 minutes.
Yes. Now, that is a brilliant thing to do, if in fact it happens.
Right, well, let me just tell you this, right? I mean, these are all, we're going to help the consumer, we're going to help the motorist.
This is all election time, isn't it?
We're going to help the householder and all this kind of stuff. First of all, it's got nothing to do with the government. It's local authorities who absolutely punish the motorist in every way.
Yeah.
I mean, across Surrey, they've been rebuilding towns, pedestrianising them, cutting out car parking slots along the street because they're too cheap, and making them very, very expensive further away from town. You know what I mean?
You were saying, were you not, that they put in parking bays on your street, which previously didn't have any?
And do you know what happened?
Yeah.
People used to come along and park their cars all up and down the street for about £1.50 a day, and then they'd walk about...
No, sorry, I thought they didn't pay at all when they parked there before.
No, they did, but I was going to tell you, and they'd walk about 7 minutes to the station instead of going into the car park station where they pay £4 a day. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
They'd pay £1.50 in a bay. So the council got wise to this, and you know what they did? They then made the bays as expensive as the station car park. They put it up to £4.50.
Right.
Guess what?
Nobody's there?
No, nobody parks in the street anymore.
Well, yeah.
So, I mean, this is counterproductive revenue gathering.
You say that, but in a lot of places it will work because there won't be anywhere else to park. I mean, that's the problem. You go to parts of London and they can charge whatever they like because people have to park there.
They then went and knocked down a multi-storey car park and sold it to some oil company called South Sea or something, or South 7 or something like that, or whatever. I don't know what they're called. And they're building a massive, great office block there. But you see, the reason why I doubt this one, no parking fine if you overstay for just 10 minutes, drivers are to get 10 minutes extra time after a parking ticket runs out before they're going to be hit with a fine. Do you know why this won't work?
Why?
Because as I turn the page, I find out which ministers are behind this, and I suddenly find out that amongst the ministers behind it, the Department for Communities and Local Government is tabling a separate parliamentary motion, right? But the name...
Is it Ian Duncan Smith and Eric Pickles, isn't it?
Well, it's Eric Pickles. Now, where do you see his name? His name's in this story somewhere.
Well, he's on the front page of the Daily Telegraph, which is what I'm reading instead of Daily Mail.
Okay. It says broader guidance will also be issued saying councils cannot use parking in the mirror. Local Government and Community Secretary Eric Pickles.
Yeah.
Right, can I tell you this?
To be fair to Pickles, he has made local councils do things that in the past.
Oh, no, Mike. You see, this is where you're completely naive politically. This is where you don't understand.
Right.
You don't understand.
Please do educate me about your political knowledge.
Mr. Eccles keeps saying...
How about Peter Pickles?
Eh? No,
Mr.
Eccles.
Mr. Eccles.
Oh, Mr. Pickles. Sorry,
Pickles.
Yeah, Eric Pickles. Eric Pickles, that's right. Yeah,
not Peter Pickles.
No, not Peter Pickles.
Or
No.
Peter Eccles.
So Mr. Eric Pickles, the Community Secretary, keeps saying things like, it is the fundamental right of every Englishman to throw his containers of tikka masala curry into the bin on Saturday night and have them collected every Monday morning, OK? He says that to get curry favour. Sorry.
Pardon the pun.
Sorry, I didn't mean the pun.
Very good.
With the householder. And guess what?
What?
Every local authority who was told by Mr. Pickles to revert back to weekly collections.
Yeah, but do you know why that was?
Said, get lost, we're not doing it.
But do you know why that was?
Why?
Because it was against EU regulations. That's where you're politically naive.
Well,
because they couldn't change the rules.
Well, why did Mr. Pickles then insist that they should?
Because he was trying to make a point, which he wasn't able to make, but he did make the point in the end, because what he said then was, look, my hands are tied. I want to do this, but the European Union won't let me.
Well, he's an idiot politician to go around saying he's going to do it if he knows he can't do it.
Because anybody with half a brain can see that this particular problem is not going to be ruled by the EU.
You're wrong.
So he will be able to do it. No,
he actually got some money from the government, central government, government and said, right, any local authority that comes to me now and wants their bins collected weekly rather than fortnightly, come to me, I'll give you the money and do it.
That's not true.
Or the local council, it is true. It is true.
Making that up.
I'm not making it up.
He didn't have any money to give them.
The local authorities said we can't be bothered collecting twice a week. Why should we? They're only householders. And it's never happened.
No.
Everything Mr. Pickles tries to do doesn't happen, and that's why this won't happen. I'm telling you, I know these things.
No, you don't.
I've worked in the House of Commons. I've seen the seat of power.
You've never worked in the House of Commons.
I have worked in the House of Commons.
Rubbish.
I was the deputy political editor of the Birmingham Evening Mail. What are you laughing at?
Why would you even want a deputy political editor of the Birmingham Evening Mail?
In case the political editor got ill or had a day off.
Oh, did you ever stitch him up?
No, of course I didn't stitch him up. No, he'd been there about 30 years.
Right.
And I worked in the gallery and watched the Prime Minister
dish out... So you used to make the tea then, in other words?
No, I only ever went there because I was actually the bureau chief of the Birmingham Mail in London, based in Fleet Street, the home of newspapers, at a very young age, about 23. And
because you're a local journalist, I bet nobody even spoke to you.
When a big one broke in Parliament in the House of I covered.
I bet you were at the front of the queue, right? BBC,
I went over there.
ITV, no. The Times, no.
I'm
for the Birmingham Evening Mail.
I did party conferences in.
So what?
In Brighton.
Yeah, well, congratulations.
In fact, I met a girl in Brighton at a party conference, and we had a 4-day fling during the conference. I don't know. I never asked her, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't suppose you would. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. More lives from
teams in the Premiership. It would be strange if he wasn't in my thoughts, but it's a player that I know anyway because he's done a lot of good work for the under-21s, and I know all of those players. And what pleases me most is that these young players now get a chance to play. In the past, at 19, 20, 21, they often found themselves either loaned out or having to sit back and wait their chance, but now it seems more and more of them are being given their chance, and more of them are taking that chance when it's presented to them. So I'm delighted for him, and we'll see when I select my squad at the end of the month whether he's in it or not.
Roy Hodgson, right? Yeah. This is a guy who doesn't want to give up his job. Do you think he'd know the difference between the Premier League and the Premiership, since he's meant to be the kind of the flag waver for the FA? Don't you think he should call it the Premier League?
To be honest, I get irritated with people who pick other people up on that.
Why?
It doesn't matter because it doesn't matter. It's been called.
Of course it matters. It's the Premier League.
It's been called both in its existence. It's been called both the Premiership and the Premier League.
Do you like people who call the League Cup the Carling Cup or the Capital One Cup?
I don't care.
Do you not get the Milk Cup? You don't care.
I don't care.
So I thought you were the seeker of truth and justice.
I am the seeker of truth and justice.
So you don't care if people get things wrong.
But I'm not the seeker.
So if I call you,
pettiness.
Peter Parry, you don't mind?
No, don't be ridiculous.
Well, it's the wrong name.
My name is Michael Alan Parry. Okay?
Michael Alan Parry.
Yeah.
Really?
MAP.
Alan Parry used to be a footballer, didn't he?
No, Alan Parry is another broadcaster for the BBC.
Is he?
It's not as good as me.
Isn't he?
But
what does he do there?
A lot of people thought he was my dad because he's a bit older than me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he's
Speaking of dads,
he's actually a first-class commentator on matches who used to be employed by this station. Top man.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now here's the one from...
Hang on. We haven't finished about Roy Hodgson.
Yeah, no, I'm going to get back to Roy Hodgson.
Okay,
I just want to read you this because I made a mental note to read it out.
A mental note?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Old MG made a mental note. Well, you can actually notify your mentality, can you?
Well, what I do is I make a mental note because I don't have such a short memory that I have to write things down in a little book.
What day
have you got your little book with you today? The one you took last week to the Head and Chickens, your little book.
What do you
brought
mean?
A little book. The one you wrote your phone number down in.
What do you mean?
Your little book. The phone number that you gave to one of our colleagues' mothers.
Listen, there is
photographic evidence of your phone number being written down on a little piece of paper.
With bona noti on something that crops up.
What were you going to do to her?
What?
What are we going to do to her?
What are you going on about?
What did you just say?
Bona noti.
Bona noti.
That's Latin for good note.
I don't think she was interested.
Look, see, you're being smutty again. You're being smutty.
Why don't you just let me read this out?
Bona noti means good note. You write it down because I have hundreds of ideas every day.
Yeah,
I can't possibly catch them all in my brain.
Here's one from, this is from Ryan Humphreys. He says, "Hi guys, I haven't met up with my dad for quite a while now, though we have still kept in touch a lot. He asked me recently to listen to your show because he knew I would enjoy it. I know that he's listening right now, so please could you tell him thank you from me and that he's a great dad. Also, up the villa. Isn't that nice?"
What's the name of this chap?
Ryan Humphreys.
Ryan Humphreys. Yeah. Where does he live? In Australia?
He doesn't say. He's a Villa fan.
Oh, OK. Well, he's got a big weekend, hasn't he? Villa and West Brom.
He has.
Talking about football,
the
idea that Roy Hodgson should still be in charge of the team by 2018 is a calumny.
It is.
And it's madness. He shouldn't even be in charge now. I'm a big supporter of the FA and the Football Association, who incidentally are going through a huge review at the moment.
Well, they're supposed to be.
No, Greg Dyke wants to take millions of pounds and put it back into what he calls grassroots football and local football.
But he's also supposed to be overhauling, is he not? The entire administrative setup of the FA.
Absolutely.
So why on earth would you want to keep the same manager?
Absolutely, and some people are going to be finding themselves shown the door at the FA. Of that, I believe, having read what I've read in some of the heavier newspapers in the last couple of weeks, right? But the Roy Hodgson situation... Now, what's bizarre about it, Mike, what's absurd, and I've got a solution for this. Roy Hodgson... Well, I wouldn't have reappointed him after the World Cup.
No, I wouldn't.
I totally agree with you. Yeah. The idea that he should have fallen on his sword is a good one.
Yeah.
There is honour left in life, and Roy Hodgson's supposed to be an honourable man.
Yeah.
And he should have come back and said, look, I don't really think that I should take charge. And he's quite an elderly gentleman as well.
He's 67 now.
Exactly. He should have gone to a younger man. And I think he should have come back and said, I don't think I should really take control of another campaign.
But again, they made the mistake, did they not, before Brazil, of actually saying to him, oh, don't worry, no matter what happens in Brazil, you'll be in charge for the Euros.
Exactly.
Which is a stupid idea.
Talk about, a monopoly board with the get-out-of-jail card, you know what I mean? And then, of course, we got the draw for the qualification for the European Championships, which is so easy that they realised,
it's a shoo-in, isn't it?
Yeah, he won't come under much criticism until we get to the Championships because it's so easy. But what has Roy Hodgson been doing since we played our last competitive qualifier in November of last year?
Right.
The answer is nothing.
Not very much.
There is nothing to do.
Well, he pops to the odd game,
but
doesn't he?
I don't know why they do that.
Yeah.
Why do these guys... Why does the England manager keep going to games?
I think it's because he has to be seen to be doing something. Otherwise, people would go, what is he doing?
Yes, but that's fanciful.
Yeah.
He would learn much more about those games if he stayed at home and watched them on TV because of the amount of analysis that goes into the games afterwards he would then see.
Well, do you remember...
He doesn't see it because he's at the game, travelling there and coming back.
Do you remember the game that he actually was a pundit on as well, the Wayne Rooney game?
Yes, I do, yeah.
Where he was forced to be asked a question about Wayne Rooney, which he kind of fumbled around on, didn't give the right answer. Did he dive? Did he not dive? And, I mean, he shouldn't be doing that either.
Some say, oh, well, he goes there to break the bread with the managers and build up relationships with the managers. That is irrelevant. It's do you know no manager is possibly going to change his mind about releasing his players just because Roy turned up for a cup of tea.
No.
They're more likely to give him a volley and say, look, you're not getting him and all that kind of stuff.
Well, the row's already started between Spurs and the under-21 squad about
and the Harry Kane situation. You're absolutely right. So what I'm saying is this: you've got to find a new way for an England manager to time. Now, what
about when you were there as the FA's Director of Communications?
Yes.
I mean, did anything like this happen then? Because you had a few changes of manager, didn't you, during that time?
No, it was Terry Venables all the time.
Oh, it was never anybody else.
And Terry was very active anyway, but not in a way.
But is there not, as there always is in these kind of organisations, was there not like political sort of machinations going on? Were there not some people who said we should find a new manager? We're not too sure about him.
Oh yeah, but not because Terry was no good.
No,
because
I don't mean that.
Terry did so much outside of the game that he courted controversy all over the place. And one of the TV stations very unhelpfully made some sort of documentary which cast aspersions on Terry's business dealings outside of the game.
Shouldn't you have controlled that?
I did control it. Don't worry.
It went out.
Well, yeah, but it was made before I got there.
Oh, right.
But we stayed there until 9 o'clock that night, and I constructed a war room inside the football. Sorry, what are you laughing at?
I can just imagine you constructed a war room. Did it have a bar in it?
No, it didn't have a bar in it.
First point of contact for the war room, we need a fully stocked bar.
No, you see, you're being trite again. I constructed a war room inside the FA.
Did you have one of those long pointy sticks and a kind of an airfix model kind of thing going on the ground?
Sort of, because...
With little Sabutio men representing journalists.
We watched it there. I had 4 of my staff there, plus David Davis and...
what about Graham Kelly?
Graham Kelly was there. Yeah. Oh, there's another terrible story about us on the back of the Daily Mirror. I want you to start an inquiry to find out who the mole is.
So what exactly did you do?
That was actually me.
Yeah. So what did you actually do then to make sure that...
In the war room, what I did was... I had 4 staff there. There was me, Dave, Graham Kelly. Every time an allegation came up, bang, I snapped out to one of my assistants, investigate that immediately and put out a response, OK?
It sounds like Captain Mannering type operation.
No. And so within minutes, I mean, it was very impressive, actually, because before, I think it was a panorama programme, before the programme had finished, we had actually issued 6 responses to 6 allegations about Terry Venables.
Wouldn't it have been better to treat it with scant regard and say these are scurrilous rumours which we do not intend in any way to give any credence to by answering?
No, it was a brilliant bit of progressive counter communication in what
So did you manage to keep it off the back page then?
Well, no. Because well, you couldn't, could it? Because everybody else was watching it. You see what I mean?
Of course.
But what I managed to do was...
So you didn't do anything then?
No, I did. What I managed to do was, if you imagine a galleon in full sail going across an ocean, it's going in one specific direction.
With a load of slaves on it.
No, not slaves. What I managed to do was...
used to row the galleon.
A galleon under sail. A galleon under sail. And what I managed to do was, I managed to steer the ship around in a direction it didn't want to go, right? And won the argument in almost every case.
Did you?
I did indeed, yeah.
Well done.
In fact, so much so, Terry Venables congratulated me on my handling of this very tricky issue.
And when after that did you leave the FA?
Maybe 18 months later.
18 months?
Oh, yes.
So this was at the beginning of your tenure then?
Very near to the beginning, yeah. It all hit me like a tidal wave, but I handled everything. You know, Paul Merson having to confess to having...
about Paul Merson?
Well, he's a mate of mine, having a drugs problem.
When was the last time you spoke to him?
Last time I spoke to Paul, can't say really, but I mean, I can't tell you precisely.
Rounded up to the nearest decade.
No. I spoke to him last year sometime.
Did you?
I did indeed, yeah. And, Bruce Grobbelaar being accused of getting involved in jiggery pokery towards payments for games and all that kind of stuff. Then, of course, there was the riot in Ireland, which I had to sort out.
Yeah, you got left behind, yeah.
Well, I got left behind to repair diplomatic relations between the UK and Dublin governments.
How did this turn out to be another story about you, by the way?
Well, it wasn't. You asked me
about Roy Hodgson.
Well, it is about Roy Hodgson.
You've managed to make it about you.
I've come up with a solution. Do you know what Roy Hodgson should do?
I want to hear the solution.
Roy Hodgson should manage... Well, not Roy Hodgson, but the England manager, who's got nothing to do between November and April, basically, should manage 2 international teams, one in the Northern Hemisphere and one in the Southern Hemisphere.
Hey?
Well, that way he would have a job 12 months a year.
What do you mean? You manage another club team, you mean?
No. For instance, I think the manager of England could also be the manager of Australia because they play at different times of the year.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
They all play at the same time.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
I think you'll find that when FIFA have an international break, it applies to the entire world, not just half of it.
It might do. What I'm saying is training facilities, the ability to pull a team together, get them to training camps and all that can be managed.
So your solution to Roy Hodgson is that he becomes a manager of Australia and England?
Not Roy Hodgson, but the next...
whoever it is.
I think all...
That's idiotic.
No, it's not. All football associations around the world should have a dual manager type situation, a dual coaching situation. For instance...
Well, do they have to be certain sort of miles apart? Or?
Well, Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere. Like the international manager of Chile could also be the international manager of Scotland. The international manager of, say, the Philippines.
Now you're trying to work out whether one country is actually in the Southern Hemisphere,
No.
Because you're not sure where the equator is.
I know exactly where the equator is.
No,
I've crossed the equator.
You have no idea.
I've crossed the equator many times. Do
you remember when?
Whenever I was in that part of the world.
Which journey did you cross the equator on?
Well, that could have been when I was in Senegal, in Africa, because that's on the equator, okay?
Is it?
I went from one side of the road to the other and crossed the equator, I remember now,
really?
Yeah. And also, for instance, the manager of Iceland could also be the manager of... somewhere like New Zealand or something like that.
You can just say that's all we can think of.
I think it would work.
Australia and New Zealand.
I think it would work.
No, it wouldn't work at all. Completely idiotic.
I think it would work.
By the way, Bonanotti, you said earlier.
Bonanotti,
I believe what you meant was nota bene.
That's right.
Which is completely round the wrong way.
It doesn't matter.
Buonanotte sounds more like good night in Italian, as opposed to nota bene in Latin.
In Latin, it doesn't matter. You know the famous Julius Caesar quote, "Veni vici vidi."
Veni vidi vici.
Yeah, that could have been vidi vici veni.
Well, it could have been.
Yeah.
Then he could have said, I came, I conquered, I saw.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter which order they were in.
But it does matter.
It doesn't matter. If you're a Roman scholar, you'd know.
Yeah.
You'd know these things. The trouble is with you, Mike, you talk out the top of your head a lot of the time. You make these declarations about things of which you have no knowledge and no idea. You get on my nerves.
Yeah. This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on, and we will be appearing live at the Birmingham Repertory Theatre a little bit later on tonight. It is sold out, but there'll be loads of people listening who will be there, and we're very much looking forward to it.
We certainly are.
Now, we will be, no doubt, at some stage or other, probably taking part in some kind of pub-like activity while we're there. Probably not before the show, but very possibly after.
Yeah.
And you've seen some story about pubs being nationalised. What's this all about?
No, I take great interest in pubs, Mike, because I think they're the absolute backbone of British life, OK? right? Yeah. There is nothing I like better than being in a country pub in Surrey or Hampshire or anywhere else.
Any kind of
Northumberland.
pub, really.
Northumberland.
You don't mind being any... I mean, as I said to you the other day, I don't think a day goes by when you don't go to a pub.
I like pubs.
No bad thing.
I love the atmosphere of them. Next week, if we were in Cheltenham in the Cotswolds, I'd take you out to a couple of pubs away from the course and have lunch there and all that kind of stuff. Absolutely wonderful. But without a shadow of a doubt, they're under threat from pernicious red tape, both from Europe and from this government and from local authorities. And the guy who leads the battle is Tim Martin. Now, Tim Martin is the man who set up Wetherspoons, the boss of it, created a chain of 700 pubs, magnificent businessman.
Very successful.
And we met him on the train to Birmingham that time when we were going up to the motorcycle convention.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a blur, to be honest, that train, right?
I know, but we did. And he's been battling hard. Now, what's happened is that the Chancellor, George Osborne, has actually responded, but in such a pathetic way. If a pint of beer costs £3.50, and Mr. Osborne says, right, I'm knocking a penny off the pint of ale, well, it's ludicrous. Yeah. It means next time you go
But that's all he ever does, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, and I think for the third year on the run, he's going to knock a penny off.
Right.
So that's 3 pence on a £3.30 pint of ale. What is that? That's 1%. 1%.
Yeah.
What good is that going to do? It's not going to... I mean, by the equivalent standards of when I was a kid and they used to say a penny off a pint of ale...
a penny off a pound of a pint of ale, is that in other words?
Mike, it wasn't even that. It was 18p.
Yeah.
So a penny off 18p is quite a substantial
reduction. No, but I'm
reduction.
saying if he's doing it now, though.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, yeah. It's a penny in the pound off a pint of ale. That's not going to help anybody. And you see it now where... so many pubs have become like gastros because they serve more food than they do...
Because that's where they can make their money.
That's where they make their money, and so those pubs go in... But the pubs that can't convert because the premises aren't big enough for kitchens or something like that are definitely going to go out of business.
Yeah.
And they are going out of business.
But those are the kind of pubs that have also been affected by the smoking ban, because they were the kind of pubs that people used to go to for a pint, a cigarette and a packet of peanuts. And that was all they wanted.
You're absolutely right. 21,000 pubs have shut in Britain since 1980. Half of those have taken place since 2006. Campaigners have blamed the smoking ban brought in that year, 2006, OK? Yeah. The alcohol price escalator introduced by Labour and increased sales by supermarkets.
Right.
David Cameron has hinted that beer duty could be cut for a third time by George Osborne. A 1p cut in the price of a pint would cost the Treasury £100 million. Well, considering the Treasury sends something like £11.2 billion to dictators around the world in so-called overseas aid, I don't think £100 million off the price of beer is a lot to be grateful for.
But then maybe they don't want to encourage people to drink any more than they already do.
Well, you drink responsibly, but I mean, what I'm saying is it's not ale and beer and wine, it's the institution of the British pub, which is under threat. And what's happened is this new report that has come out, and this is a very, very serious matter, says that by as early as 2020, pubs might be continually taken into state ownership.
I don't understand how that would work.
I.e. nationalised.
I don't understand how that would work.
State may have to bail out pubs before they sink.
I can't see that happening.
Pubs would have to be nationalised because government red tape...
Who's saying this, then?
This report, I'll tell you in a minute, because red tape has made them unviable.
It's not that bloke in New Zealand again, is it?
No, it's an economics expert, right? And this economics expert is Christopher Snowdon, who is a research fellow at the Institute for Economic Affairs, right?
Okay.
And he says that pubs are simply becoming unviable as a business.
Yeah, but there's no way. I mean, you said that tens of thousands of pubs have closed since whatever date that was you said. I mean, they haven't stepped in to save any of them. Why would they step in to save any of them now?
Because of the increasing number of pubs that are under threat of closing again.
I don't see it happening.
We're going to lose it as part of the
Can you imagine if the government actually ran a pub? How ridiculous that would be.
Well, I don't get it either.
I mean, they can't run the government. They couldn't run a pub.
They can't run anything. They used to try and run the betting industry with something called the tote.
Oh, yeah.
Fiasco. Didn't make any money, didn't lose any money. It was just ludicrous. But not all pubs are doomed. I think I've told you that.
No, many pubs are doing very well, particularly a lot of Wetherspoons ones.
Well, yes, but on very, very slim margins.
Yeah.
What Mr. Martin does, apparently, I mean, they sell beer as cheaply down on the coast as £1.65 a pint. Now, that is utterly...
Which means they must be squeezing the producers of the beer, mustn't they?
Well,
in order to buy it cheaper.
I'm told that what Mr. Martin's very able at doing, because he's such a good businessman, is...
Why do you call people that you have sort of great reverence for Mr.?
Well, because I don't know him. I can't call him Tim. That's disrespectful.
Well, you call Roy Hodgson. You call him Mr.
Well, everybody
Hodgson.
calls Roy Hodgson Roy. He's a national figure. He runs the national football team. No, he's not. He's a private businessman.
You call Bill Kenwright Mr. Kenwright.
Yeah, I do call him Mr. Kenwright.
It's like a sort of snobbish thing.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
I think it is.
No, it's not. What's snobbish about it? What do you want me to call Mr. Kenwright?
Bill.
Why?
Because you know him.
It doesn't matter. I know.
When we get people on who are doctors, you call them doc.
Hang on.
You don't call them doctor, whatever their last name is.
Wait a minute. I know.
You call them prof.
I know David Cameron.
Yeah.
I don't call him Dave.
What do you mean you know him?
Well, of course I know him.
Rubbish.
He sat in the seat
he came here for an interview.
In the studio.
He came here for an interview. How many of those do you think he's done?
Twice.
Yeah.
And said how much he admired Talk Sport and how much he admired me as a broadcaster. So, what are you scoffing
all flannel.
at? Oh, you see,
that's flannel.
You see, if I get those sort of compliments from people who matter, you just scoff at it.
Oh, you think David Cameron matters, do you?
You know, this expellation of air.
You think that? Well, you think that was sincere, do you?
Well,
why do you think he said that to you?
Sorry, has the Prime Minister ever said that to you?
The current Prime Minister, no, he hasn't. I've never met him.
See, there you go.
But if he was sitting there...
It's all becoming clear, isn't it? All becoming absolutely clear.
If he was sitting there now...
Your envy, your malice, your jealousy towards me.
No, you're
hope that doesn't manifest
again.
itself on the stage tonight.
You're looking in the mirror again. That's what
you
see when you look in the mirror. Envy, malice, jealousy, inferiority. You see it all.
There's nothing inferior about me.
If David Cameron was sitting in the studio with a stuffed dummy, he would compliment the stuffed dummy because he wants the stuffed dummy to make him look nice in an interview.
Let's get back to the pub situation, which is very, very serious, right? Now, new pubs do open.
It's very serious for you because you spend all your time in them.
No, I don't spend all my time in them.
I wouldn't actually care.
I don't drink a lot, but I do like the institution of a pub. I like a country pub with a roaring log fire. I don't want to live in a village that's got one of those because it'd be too dull and boring.
Yeah.
Life would be.
Yeah.
I like to live in the metropolis, which is
the metropolis of Sutton.
No. Metropolis of Epsom, actually, Epsom and Newell. But
that's not a metropolis either.
The metropolis of being on the edge of Greater London.
London is a metropolis.
I know, and I live on the edge of the metropolis.
You live in the suburbs.
And the country.
You live in the suburbs.
No, I don't.
You do.
No, I don't. I know where I live. And
I know where you live as well.
And what I'm saying is, I like to be able to just, walk for 10 or 15 minutes towards the country pub, roaring log fire, but I don't want to live in that village because it's too dull and boring, and the people there are too institutionalised into village life.
Yeah.
And I get fed up with people
who say... There aren't really any
say...
villages in that part of Surrey.
Of course there are.
No, there aren't.
Of course there are.
No, there aren't.
Man, there are.
It's like Croydon.
Who is
you might as well call Croydon a village.
No, Croydon's a town. and
that's what I mean. It's all towns.
And it's a bit of a Canary Wharf type town, actually. A lot of sort of tall buildings there. But
really?
Yes, Ben, our newsreader,
I'll have a look and see if I can find some pictures
who lives down
of
in
Sutton.
that part of the world. He'll tell you about all the villages down there with village pubs, and they're beautiful, right?
Yeah, but they're not anywhere near Sutton.
Sorry?
They're not anywhere near Sutton.
Well, I'm not anywhere near Sutton, so, I don't know what you keep going on about.
Because that's the station you go to.
And sometimes I do, yeah, but not always. What I'm saying is that down on the coast, there's a new pub has opened in Gosport called the...
Hey, how's that secret
Sailmaker.
Lidl's coming along, by the way?
What?
How's the secret Lidl's coming along?
I haven't been there since I last spoke to you about it.
Okay.
But I'd imagine that it's pretty nearly done now.
Yeah.
And, by the way, what I discovered is, I thought
Take your time, by the way.
No, don't worry about that.
I've started another story.
I thought that the big supermarkets, established ones like Sainsbury's, Tesco's and all that, in the face of Lidl and Aldi, were cutting back and reducing their outlets.
What's wrong with your eyes?
I've got something in it. Sorry, I'm just rubbing it, yeah. But what I've discovered is...
Don't rub it,
Sainsbury's
that's not good for it.
are opening 3 new Sainsbury's shops, 1 big one and 2 Sainsbury, Expresses or whatever they're called, within a 6-mile radius of each other in Surrey.
Really?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why. They're knocking down half of a town to build, a massive, great Sainsbury's, and knocking down other things like the car wash I go to.
Well, in high streets, right? That's one of the few things that can actually make money. So,
exactly.
I mean, you were saying a lot of high streets are going empty. A couple of tweets to read out to you just before we have to disappear for a moment. This one from Norman. I think you'll find Senegal is north of the equator. He goes laughing out loud. Ken in Salford says, what would happen if both countries qualify for the finals then, Porky? This is on your idea that Roy Hodgson should manage 2 teams. And another one from Chris who says, stupid, what about the World Cup?
Yeah, well, OK, there's all those problems to look at, but that's the problem, you see, with people who have narrow minds. They can't address problems and think of a way around them. They can't. That's absolutely right.
It's true.
A supportive word for me from MG. They can't see the big picture. Absolutely right.
You can, of course. You're one of the few people that
can.
He is Mike Porky Parry. We've got the Porky quiz coming up very shortly. It's all about the FA Cup because it is a massive FA Cup weekend. I'm saying 2 or 3 out of 10. That's match of the day.
I know, but they do the FA Cup.
This is Talk Sport.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the 2 Mikes. He's Mike Parry. I'm Mike Graham. There will be a podcast coming out around about 5 or 6 hours from now, of course. Now, this could be your theme tune, couldn't it?
Why?
Tell me lies.
Don't
Tell
be
me
ridiculous.
Sweet little lies.
That is
because I would say
that's
every
a very cruel
single
thing to
show,
say.
every single show that you come out here with, at least one or two lies. You may not mean to. I think you can't help it.
I don't.
I just think you can't help it.
I don't tell lies.
And it turns out that most people will tell something like 10 lies a week anyway.
10.
So for you, that would probably be about 20 to keep the average up.
No, not at all. I mean, what's your definition of a lie?
Something that isn't true.
No.
Deliberately stated as the truth.
Definition of a lie can also be...
What do you mean, can also be?
Can also be not telling somebody something, if you see what I mean.
Well, you mean a lie, that's a lie by omission, though?
Yeah, well, it could be, yeah.
No, that's not the same thing. If you don't tell somebody something, right, and you want to use a political term, being economical with the truth, for example, that is not the same as telling somebody a deliberate lie.
All right, now, most of us don't tell lies. Most of us have to just navigate around facts.
What?
Navigate around facts, but
No, you tell lies all the time because
I don't.
you will say something.
No, that's a very wrong thing to say.
If I ask
I'm not a liar.
No, you're not a liar.
No.
I'm not saying that. No, there are some people who are compulsive liars. But what you do is you massage the truth because you suffer from that state of affairs that we talked about the other week. You know that thing that Brian Williams suffers from.
Yes.
Do you remember the name of it?
What's that?
I'm going to try and find it now.
Brian Williams.
Pseudologia fantastica.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
That state of affairs where you actually you convince yourself of something that's happened.
Yes.
So you don't actually think you're lying, but you are lying. Because you're remembering something that you think happened and it didn't happen that way. But because you've told yourself that for such a long time.
That's a brain condition.
And you've told everybody else.
It's a brain condition. And anyway, look.
That's what you suffer from. Pseudologia fantastica.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah. In my research, there are some people who are literally Billy Liar. You know what I mean? They are compulsive liars.
They are, yeah.
There's a girl here, right? This is in a.
Well, I'll tell you who's one of those, right? Lance Armstrong. He's a compulsive liar.
No, he's a wicked guy who constructed.
He's not wicked.
No, he did. He constructed a huge false life around him to facilitate being a champion. That was a wicked campaign.
Not different from what you do.
No, don't be silly. I don't go around, trying to claim things I'm not.
You do. You construct an entire world around yourself. Which
like
actually
what?
isn't true.
Like what?
Well, like you say, you went to the University of the Trent, for example.
Yeah, I did.
It wasn't the University of the Trent.
Well, the building is there now, and I entered that building and studied there, so I think I did, yes.
You said the other day that you were at university with somebody, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't go to university. Is
that
a lie?
I went to an organisation which is called the University of the Trent.
Yeah, but it wasn't
when you were there.
And I'm not
backing down on that. Look, what I'm saying is that...
Well, it's not a question of backing down. That is a lie,
My research shows that some people are like this, right?
Yeah.
There's a woman here who went to school, wanted to be popular. She's reflecting now back to when she was 16.
Yeah.
So she told her friends that she lived in a big house with a field. She had 3 horses. Her father worked for NASA and was a scientist in America, right? Yeah. She would say things like, I used to be a ballet dancer.
Right. That is compulsive lying, isn't it?
Yeah. When she got to university, she told people that she was a genius.
Did she actually go to university? Or was it a polytechnic?
It doesn't say. In one of the first job interviews, a man started speaking to me in French because I forgot that I'd claimed to be fluent in the language on my CV. I didn't, in fact, speak any French, so I got caught out with that one. I also put down a load of academic successes I didn't have. I was at another interview. I was asked to play a piano because I'd said that in my CV I got to grade 7 piano exams. And another one, I was offered the opportunity to go scuba diving with the boss who wanted to employ me because I said that I was an advanced scuba diving teacher.
All right. Well, let's just stop you there for a second, okay? When you were at school, in the King's School, Chester, right, which you claim was founded by Henry VIII, which isn't true.
It is true.
No, it's not.
No, I'm sorry. I've got to stop you there.
He was dead.
Henry VIII founded my school.
No, he was dead.
Everybody knows that. Well, look at the website for the King's School, Chester. And it says founded by Henry VIII.
It doesn't.
It does.
Secondly, you said that you were a midfield dynamo playing football for the team.
Yes.
Yeah. You also said you were the captain of the cricket team.
No, third 11 cricket team.
Well, you were the captain, though, weren't you?
Yes.
Yes. And you also said that you were one of the best darts players that ever had been seen at the University of the Trent, a.k.a. Trent Polytechnic. You also said that you were one of the best snooker players that ever played snooker at the University of the Trent, a.k.a. Trent Poly.
It's true.
Do you see any resemblance between your story and hers?
No, because
you put yourself at the pinnacle.
All those facts,
put yourself at the pinnacle of all your stories.
All those facts are absolutely accurato. Really?
Accurato?
I'm telling you.
Is that Latin?
Yeah, it is, yeah. And I'm telling you, it's all there.
You've also talked about how when you were at the Press Association, you single-handedly broke the story about Princess Diana's death.
I did.
You also talk about when you were at the Birmingham Post and Mail, you were the most exemplary journalist they'd ever seen.
I was one of the best ever.
You also said that when you were running the Daily Express news desk, you were the best news editor they'd ever had.
Well, they told me that.
And you also said
other way around.
You also said that when you were exiled into America, when everybody knew you'd been pushed off the other end of the shelf because they didn't want you there anymore, that you'd been promoted.
Well, of course I was. I was given a new title, Assistant Editor, brackets, United States. That's quite impressive, isn't it?
Do you want to know? Quite impressive. Yeah, they give you any old title, don't they?
Quite impressive.
It's like being Director of Football. Yeah. Would you like to know what the definition of a lie is?
Yeah, go on.
A false statement made with deliberate intent to deceive.
Okay. Well, I've never done that to you. I've never told you a lie.
You've never told me a lie?
No, never told you a lie. What I've had to do sometimes...
Have you ever embellished the truth?
No, I've had to improve on the factuality of a particular situation in order...
Or the actuality.
In order for you to understand to put it into context.
For example, you just said, for example, I know David Cameron.
Yes.
Okay. Now, would you regard that as a lie, or would you regard that as an exaggeration?
I'd regard that as a referral to an individual situation of interpretation in my relationship with a man who is now the Prime Minister but wasn't when I knew him.
Right.
As simple as that.
So, you know him or don't you know him?
Of course I know him.
So if he rang
not in the same context as you're trying to insinuate.
Not like you know me.
No, of course I don't know him like I know you. He's the Prime Minister.
Well, so you couldn't ring him up and he would take your call, for example.
Of course he wouldn't. Because he's an important man now. He's an important man.
Right.
Prime Minister. I knew Bill Clinton. I could ring Bill Clinton up until about 10 days before he became the President of the United States of America.
Rubbish.
I could.
No, you couldn't.
I went to his house.
You're not talking to some floozy who works in a secretarial pool who's impressed with that sort of cobblers,
I used to go to his house in Arkansas. It was the governor's mansion.
Yeah, along with 55 other people for a press conference.
No.
Oh, you went and sat there and drank mint juleps with him, did you?
Actually, he didn't. He's a teetotaler, but I did.
Oh, yeah?
And I used to drink with a guy called George Stephanopoulos.
Where are the pictures?
Who was his right-hand man.
Where are the pictures?
It was all about security. Yeah,
so despite the fact
you weren't allowed to do all that.
Despite the fact that there were people on the president's campaign trail, there were no pictures taken of you with Bill Clinton.
Nobody had cameras in their pockets in those days.
Rubbish.
Nobody had mobile phones.
Absolute rubbish.
I'm telling you, you need to know these things before you make these outlandish and wild and exaggerated claims about my personality, my character, which, frankly, I'm finding a bit wary.
I'm more interested in the research that says that everybody tells 10 lies a week. What have you got for us to say about that?
Well, you see, as I said to you, this came from a research document which involved this young lady that I've told you about, her problems. The best lies are the ones you tell just because you can. They might not be true in the traditional sense of the word, but they do make life a lot more interesting. That's why people tell them, OK?
Right. For example, if you had a wife or a significant other and she said to you, does my bum look big in this?
Yes.
Now, that's one of the most common lies that many men will then carry out because they don't necessarily want to say to the woman in their life, actually, you do look a bit on the Porky side.
Yeah.
So you would say, no, darling, you look beautiful.
No, what a pathetic question. A, this is totally what's-the-namer? What is it?
Hypothetical.
Totally hypothetical, right?
Well, no, it's not. It happens every day in every household in the land.
I actually like a woman with a shapely posterior anyway.
Yeah.
So I might say, yes, it does, and it's very attractive.
Yeah.
Right? Not like you think,
you might say, like your beautiful love note to that woman in the Times, actually, I think you look better in your lingerie.
Well, you can have lingerie and a shapely posterior at the same time, but look, you're getting smutty now.
There's nothing smutty about lingerie.
This survey about lying and all that, it says... The new development, of course, in modern life is that the internet is quite literally a web of lies.
Yeah.
If everyone actually Instagrammed the truth, dreamy photos of flat whites with swirly hearts on top and stunning sunsets would be replaced with half-drunk cups of weak tea and grey skies.
Yes, that's a little bit like what they're saying is that people post pictures of their lives as they believe them to be, or as they would like them to be, but not necessarily as they actually are.
Well, I mean, all this thing about dating online, all that kind of stuff is so dodgy because people sending pictures of people who aren't even themselves.
Right.
So it's all rubbish.
Yeah.
It is. It's a web of lies. Now, I don't get involved in that.
What?
I've never tried to be somebody I'm not. I've never impersonated anybody. I've never told
your
people
entire life
I'm
is
better
a
looking than I am.
No,
it's not.
Your entire life is a construct.
No.
And it's made up of some very interesting parts of your life. Many of the things that you've done have been fascinating. Many people would be very jealous of the things that you've done. But what you do is you then make out that they were even more important more than they were.
I say 999.
Like you said, I used to work in the House of Commons. Rubbish.
Yeah, I did.
You didn't.
I did.
You were the deputy political editor of a local paper.
Yes, that's
That does not mean you worked in the House of Commons.
I was in the House of Commons press gallery on a number of occasions.
Oh, you were there on a number of occasions.
Absolutely.
That doesn't mean you worked there.
Of course it does.
No, it doesn't.
What do you think it means?
If
what do you
you
think it means? I was a visitor.
Yeah, you were.
No, I wasn't a visitor. I had a Commons press pass.
Yeah,
I had a press pass for Congress.
It's not the same. So you're going to tell me you worked in Congress next?
No, but I had access to it.
I had a press pass for the White House. It doesn't mean I worked there.
I had a press pass for the United Nations.
Doesn't mean you worked there.
I had a press pass for the United Nations. I used to go in there and...
How many times you go to the United Nations in all the time you were in New York?
Half a dozen times,
Rubbish.
maybe. But nothing ever happened at the United Nations. There's no point in going there. It's the biggest talking shop in the world. Rubbish, very expensive, nothing ever happened.
Yeah, but you didn't work there. Space. But you didn't work there, did you?
I didn't say I worked there. I said I had a press pass.
You had a press pass. Yeah, you had a press pass for the House of Commons, where you also didn't work.
I had to work on a number of occasions in the House of Commons.
That's not the same.
Did you ever go to a press briefing from the President himself in the Oval Office?
Not in the Oval Office,
I did.
I only ever my only press briefings were always in that basement press room that you see on TV.
And he had redecorated the Oval Office in yellow. I don't know why, but all the furniture was yellow.
So a massive story then.
Yeah. The furniture was yellow, the walls were yellow. I don't know why, but he apparently liked the colour yellow.
He liked the colour yellow.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that was down to Hillary. Or maybe it was down to Monica.
Who knows?
Who can say? Funnily enough, her dress was blue.
I was about to say, what contrasted with that? Blue and yellow is quite a nice contrast.
It is. Look at the time, though.
Well,
coming up,
I wouldn't worry too much about that.
It's time for the quiz, right? The highlight of the week, the Porky quiz. This time it's on the FA, and he says he's going to get something like 10 out of 10. I don't see that happening. I said 8.
Bring it on.
He says bring it on. We are the two mics.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.
Here we go, here we go, here we go. Everton is the best, we all know. We're the team with supreme #1. And we love you, Everton.
Sadly, Everton are not in the FA Cup anymore, are they?
Not
it's
this
the
season,
quarter-finals, not this season.
Only one team can win it.
Yeah.
That was our theme tune from 1985 when we very nearly won the treble.
Oh, right, OK.
Yeah.
You didn't know?
No, we didn't, because Norman Whiteside sort of crossed the ball and passed the ball and, half shot towards goal and beat Neville Southall, and we lost 1-0.
Yeah. Fascinating.
But we'd already won the Cup Winners' Cup and the Football
I'm not
League
interested really in your memories of what Everton have done in the FA Cup, because this is an FA Cup quiz.
Oh, I see.
Right?
So there won't be any questions about Everton then?
Which you request. Well, I'm not going to give you a heads up on what the questions are about.
OK. Well, just get on with them.
I assume you, because you were the former, commissar of information at the FA.
Director of Communications.
You'll have a lot of this stuff in your head.
Yeah.
Now, as ever, these questions have been compiled by independent quizmasters.
Oh, yeah. Who are these independent quizmasters?
I can't give out their identities, obviously, in case you try to interfere with them.
Oh, yeah, in case they don't exist.
Well, because, you would start bribing them.
In case they don't exist.
You'd start bribing them and trying to get an answer ahead of time.
I think the audience know what you're up to.
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah. I'm giving you a bona fide quiz. That's Latin as well.
Bona fide, what's that mean? What does that mean?
It means genuine.
No, it means in good faith.
Genuine is what it means in modern language. Right. Now, if you get one right, you will hear this sound.
Cracking finish. It's an FA Cup corker.
And if you get one wrong, you'll hear this.
And that most definitely puts the lid on it. Arsenal 4, Everton 1.
Oh, dear.
Now, are you ready for question number 1?
Yes, I am.
How many FA trophies have there been?
4.
Correct.
Thank you.
Cracking finish. It's an FA Cup corker.
Thank you.
Question number 2. Which club are the only non-league winners of the FA Cup?
Non-league winners of the FA Cup going back to the 19th century. I think... I mean, there was. You don't mean like Wanderers and all that kind of stuff, do you? From the first
I can't give you any clues.
I think the answer to that one is Spurs when they were a non-league club.
Correct.
Thank you.
Finish. It's an FA Cup corker.
1901 when they were in the Southern League.
Thank you very much indeed.
Question number 3.
Yeah.
This is very good. 2 out of 2.
Yeah.
What is the highest recorded home score in the FA Cup?
Highest recorded home score. What, in the whole of the FA Cup history?
Yes.
It's a very difficult question, though.
Well, you said you were an expert on the FA Cup.
I am an expert on it, but not every game in every season since 1863. The highest... Did you say home score or score?
Home, yeah.
Highest home score. I think it's 10-0.
Incorrect.
And that most definitely puts the lid on it. Arsenal 4,
26-0 by Preston North End against a team called Hyde on the 15th of October, 1887?
What a ridiculous question.
Well, it's a record. I thought you would have had that in your head.
Utterly ridiculous. You know where Hyde is?
Eh?
You know where Hyde is?
No.
Cheshire.
Ah. Well, you should have known it then, shouldn't you? Question number 4.
Ludicrous question.
2 out of 3.
You see, I just want to tell the listeners...
We haven't got time for
because
I got
the first 2 right, the third one becomes an impossible question.
It's from the same sheet of paper.
Rubbish. Gerrymandering.
Question number 4. Everton last won the FA Cup in 1995 with Paul Rideout scoring the winner. Who did Everton beat in the 3rd round?
That year? Let me think. That's my brain turning round.
Yeah, really.
The start of... Now, hang on, because Joe Road took over in December when we were on the bottom of the table, and he said, put a few bob on Everton with the FA Cup. So by January... I don't know the answer to this one. I can't remember we beat in the 3rd round. So I'm going to have to say... I don't know why this comes into my head. Coventry.
Incorrect.
And that most definitely puts the lid on it. Arsenal
it was Derby County.
Derby County. That's very close to Coventry.
Yeah, not close enough, though.
I knew it was a Midlands team.
It was 1-0 at Goodison Park. Question number 5. Who played in the FA Cup final, the first FA Cup final at the new Wembley, and what was the score?
I went to it. And
well, you won't remember it then.
Yeah, I will. Chelsea won 1-0.
Correct. You know who they beat?
And Drogba scored the goal.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
You get all the points for that.
Yeah.
And they played Manchester United.
Exactly.
Beat them 1-0.
Yeah.
That's 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
Very good score so far.
Yeah.
Question number 6. Which team has made the most appearances in the final without winning?
Ooh. Most appearances in the final without winning?
Yes.
Sounds to me like that could be Newcastle United.
Incorrect.
And that most definitely puts the lid on it.
Leicester City.
Arsenal 4, Everton
4
1.
times.
Leicester City.
So that's 3 out of 6. That's much more like it. Question number 7.
Yeah.
Who is the FA Cup's top goal scorer?
Of all time?
Yes.
Let me see. FA Cup's top goal scorer of all time. I think it's got to be a Manchester United player, because they've won it 11 times, which is a record shared with Arsenal, I think. So I reckon it's got to be, in terms of longevity, Ryan Giggs.
Incorrect.
And that most definitely
How can that be
puts the lid on
incorrect?
it.
Well, it's
Arsenal
incorrect.
4,
So who
Everton
do you
1.
say it is?
It is somebody called Harry Kersham, who played for Notts County between 1877 and 1888.
What a ridiculous question.
Why is it a ridiculous
Utterly
question?
ridiculous question.
Why is it a ridiculous question?
Because that is not even a century ago. It's not even 2 centuries ago.
What do you mean 2 centuries
You
ago?
idiot. That's an idiotic
Well, it's part
question.
of the history of the FA.
No, it's not.
If you were in the FA, you should have known that.
No.
You've got 3 out of 7.
No.
Question number 8.
How many did he score?
This is a good one. It's about,
How many-
about 46.
46 goals in
Yeah.
the FA Cup?
Yeah.
Well, he must have been part of the Preston team that won 26-0 then.
He played for
around
Notts
that same
County
era.
between 1877 and 1888. 11 years.
That's ridiculous.
Question number 8. How many different venues has the FA Cup final been staged at?
What, you want me to name them?
No, I just want you to give me a number.
Well, obviously there's 2 Wembley stadiums.
Yeah, that only counts as 1.
Right, there's the Millennium. Now then, it's also been played once at Goodison Park. It's been played at Kennington Oval. It's been played at Crystal Palace. And so Kennington Oval, Crystal Palace, Goodison Park, Wembley, the Millennium Stadium is 5. There's probably one more I haven't got, so I'll say 6.
Incorrect.
So what's the answer?
It's actually 12.
Arsenal 4,
12.
Everton 1.
So where are the other locations?
Kennington Oval, Little Bridge, Racecourse Ground, Fallowfield Stadium, Goodison Park, Bramall Lane, Crystal Palace, Burnden Park, Old Trafford, Stamford Bridge,
Ridiculous.
Wembley Stadium, Millennium Stadium.
Utterly ridiculous.
You should have known all this if you were head of the
there's
FA.
too much history in this, Mike. This is a ludicrous...
Well, you asked for a quiz
It's a
on the
ludicrous
FA
quiz.
Cup.
No, yeah, on the FA Cup. Not on the antiquated
These are
origins
records. These
of
are
the FA
records.
Cup. It's
Question-
nonsense again.
You've got 3 out of 8.
Load of nonsense.
Question
Load of
number 9. Have a listen to this.
Yes, I know what this is.
Your favourite tune, right?
It is, yes. Yes.
Who wrote the words to it?
Elgar wrote the music.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
And the words were written by... Now, hang on. What's the relevance of this? This is not the FA Cup song anymore.
This is the song they sing at the FA Cup.
They don't. It's not the FA Cup hymn anymore. It's been
They
dispensed
still
with.
sing it?
No, it's been
You
dispensed
say they're
with.
not going to sing this at the FA Cup final?
No, it's been dispensed with.
Okay. Well, you're still going to
So
know who wrote
it's
the words
irrelevant. I would say the words were written by somebody like, and I'm just thinking aloud, somebody like Robert Louis Stevenson. But it's no, you mind? I'm only
it's
thinking
not Robert Louis Stevenson.
I know it's not Robert Louis Stevenson. So I will say it was Purcell.
And that most definitely
incorrect.
Puts the lid on it.
Oh yeah,
he was a Scotsman though. You had something there. It was Henry Francis Lyell who wrote the poem as he was dying of pneumonia, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the actual melody is not Purcell.
Yeah.
It's Eventide by William Henry Monk.
OK, and I suppose this man who wrote the word Lyle, he invented sugar as well, did he?
I don't know about that.
No, you don't know
I don't believe
that.
so.
You don't know much.
I don't believe so. I can give you a test on sugar if you like. You got 3 out of 9. So far, you could get 4 if you get the last question correct. Question number 10.
Well, it's a proper question. I will get it.
It is. As the FA Commissar, you should have known this. Who holds the record for the fastest hat-trick in the FA Cup?
Fastest hat-trick in the FA Cup final, do you mean?
No, in the FA Cup.
In the FA Cup?
Yeah.
Fastest hat-trick of all time, that would be... Thinking aloud, that could be... In my view...
I have to hurry you. You've seen the time.
Yeah, I think it could be like Jimmy Greaves or Bobby Tamling or somebody like that. So
incorrect.
I'm only thinking aloud.
Oh, so you're trying to sneak around the rules?
No. I'm thinking aloud.
To sneak around the rules. We're running out of time.
Right. I think it's probably. I'll say Jackie Milburn.
And
incorrect.
That most definitely puts the lid on
Andy
it.
Locke, which was in the same year, funnily enough, that Everton won it in 1995. He scored 3 goals for Nantwich Town against Droylsden in 2 minutes 20 seconds.
Utterly ridiculous questions.
3 out of 10.
These questions are ridiculous.
3 out of 10.
It's getting worse. I might not do the quiz.
3 out of
next week.
10. Oh, don't be so stupid.
No, might not do the quiz.
Don't be so stupid. You said that you were an expert on the FA Cup.
I am not on the antiquated origins of the FA Cup, which is what most of those questions are about. Well, I want the listeners to back me up here. I want the listeners to start tweeting and texting.
Why do you want to seek popularity as ever?
Because I want them to know. I want them to know that I know more about the FA Cup than most, but I haven't spent years and years and years studying the antiquated origins of the FA Cup.
You worked there.
6 of those questions.
You worked there.
6 of those questions related to the 19th century.
You worked there.
To the 19th century.
Do you not think that you should have known when you worked there? Do you not think you should have known what the records were at the FA?
I think you're a fat-faced jerk.
You should have not spent quite so much time feeding your face with alcohol and leaking stories to all your mates in the press.
No,
that's what I'm
you're starting to get on my nerves. This could have repercussions.
Really?
Could have repercussions.
Okay. He is Mike Porky Parry. He got 3 out of 10, as I predicted, and, much that stays the same. We'll come up with another quiz for next week at the same time.
No, we might not.
Oh, I think we will.
We might not.
This is Talk Sport. We are
to find out who these people who are setting the questions.
Why don't you run it like you used to run those FA investigations into yourself and never come to any kind of conclusion. Yeah. Best show on the radio, fellas. Porky's quiz has me in stitches every week. Utterly ludicrous, Porky, says Paul.
Utterly ludicrous questions, that's what he means.
And here's one from Marcus. It's a standalone one, it has to be said. It's always a bit twisted, some of these people who think that you've been stitched up. He says, I agree with you, Porky. Mike Graham has stitched you up here, clearly rattled by a potential 10 out of 10 score.
Exactly.
#conspiracy.
Exactly.
Hang on, another one's coming.
I got the first 2 right, and then the questions got ridiculous.
Well, yeah, but the sheet hasn't changed. The questions are all in one sheet.
Yeah, here's one from William. Have to agree with you, Porky. Asking questions about third-round matches that covers hundreds and hundreds of matches hundreds of years ago, fixed again.
Yeah, hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
The 19th century.
Yeah.
It's not hundreds of years ago.
It is.
It isn't. It's about 120 or 130 years ago.
Disgraceful.
Here's one from Phil. That was a fair quiz, Porky. He says he doesn't want history. He would moan if you asked him about this weekend's football. He says, I got 8 out of 10. Yeah, so a proper scholar of football, you seem to have done well there.
No. Yeah. What about, once again, hi, Porky, why don't you suggest to old MG that you give him a quiz next week? Best show on the radio, by the way. Yeah. Thank you, Matt, that's fine. I'm never going to quiz old MG here because I'm afraid that loses the whole purpose of the point of the quiz, which is for me to reveal my intelligence
and
against
to show
his.
your great knowledge, yeah. And, I mean, you've done very well on some of the quizzes. I think your highest score ever was on the chocolate quiz. Yeah, well, I'm shows that you're a real expert in that.
It's appalling the way these...
Now, do you know
I'm going to find out who these people are who set the questions.
No, you can't.
Porky was set up, says Be Champions.
No. Yeah. It's a bit like the people that do the auditing for the Oscars and the BAFTAs and all that.
It's a suggestion there that the questions should come directly from the listeners and then they'd be fairer than your panel.
Yeah, but it's impossible to check whether they're correct, though.
Well, if they send them the day before, we can check them.
No, we can't. That involves too much time.
No. It involves you not being able to gerrymander them. That's what you're worried about.
I have to make sure that the answers are
losing
correct.
Control.
I have to make sure that the answers are correct. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fair to ask you a question to which the answer was not right.
Do you rate Helen Mirren as an actress?
Yes, she's a great actress.
I think she is as well. But she's got a new book out or something. She tells of a regret on an instant on the London Tube, which I thought was very amusing.
Huh.
Yeah, so she was travelling on the Tube to Theatreland, you know, because she's woman of the people.
Which is
and that kind of stuff.
recent.
Yeah, and some guy recognised her as she was coming down the pavement. The train was about to go, so the chap held the door open for her, the tube door.
Okay.
She got on, but then the driver called a policeman and had the chap who held the door open hauled off the train, arrested for preventing the movement of a train. When he appealed and said, "But I did it for Helen Mirren, the actress,
the Queen."
Yeah. They laughed at him, put his arm up behind his back and dragged him off the train. She sat there and said nothing.
She said nothing?
Yeah.
Well, she didn't even help the guy.
No. Dame Helen Mirren has spoken of her regret that she did not speak out after a man was thrown off an underground train for helping her.
That's amazing.
The actress said she would apologise to the stranger if she ever found him. He'd gone out of his way to hold open the tube door to allow her to get on, but then he was ejected from the train by an official accused him of holding up public transport.
That's amazing.
I know.
Because, I mean, that tells you, I presume that was something that happened relatively recently. Because, I mean, in the old days, people used to hold the train doors open all the time.
Yeah.
But now, because of the way that things are, you can't actually do anything at all now, which is in any way regarded as something against the employees.
Also,
you see all those signs up saying, don't verbally assault our employees, we take it very seriously.
Yeah, that's right. But that was also in the days when the doors met in the middle, so to speak, and you could jam your way in them. Now, the doors, it's one sliding door, so you can't hold it open.
Well, yeah, but also now they've got, like, on some parts of the Jubilee line, where they've got the outside doors.
That's right,
I mean, you can't actually, fall onto the tracks and all that.
That's right,
we were playing a Run DMC song there a little bit earlier on, though, because apparently you've discovered that there are some perils of jogging that we want to discuss.
Well, what the experts are now saying is you be very, very careful about how much jogging you do.
Yeah.
Because
I don't do any jogging.
No, I know you don't, no.
Do you do any jogging?
No, I don't. Because
have you ever done any jogging?
No, because I know for a fact, my knowledge tells me running around on hard roads and, pounding your feet onto them will cause you all sorts of problems, including, this is revealed now by medical experts, Achilles, right? And that's at the back, you feel that at the back of your leg. It's usually from the heel to the mid-calf. It's generally the result of increasing your workload too quickly. So this is people who just suddenly decide, become a jogger. And they put on a Lycra suit and they go running off on the roads, OK?
Yeah.
You end up having to apply ice packs to the tender areas, but you have to do it by raising your leg, putting on a cushion, and it can be long-term. Yeah. So that's the Achilles injury. The other one is the ITB syndrome. ITB syndrome.
What's ITB?
It's a common problem with runners affecting the iliotibial band. Iliotibial. No, hang on. Sorry.
I don't think that's the right pronunciation.
Iliotibiali. No, it is a little...
Sounds more like Gibbons speak.
I know it does, yeah.
Why don't you spell it for us?
It's spelt... Oh, it's iliotibial. It's ILLOTIBIAL.
Right.
Iliotibial. The iliotibial, I've got it. The iliotibial band, which is a sheath of...
Well, it'll be something to do with the tibia, won't it?
Yeah. Iliotibial band, a sheath of fibrous connective tissue that helps to straighten and flex the knee.
Yeah.
It's often felt as a dull, aching pain on the outside of the knee joint. That's what I had, the medial. And you can only get rid of it with rest. You shouldn't keep doing it. If you do, you've got long-term injuries.
When I drive home in the mornings, the number of people you see out running at sort of 6:15 in the morning, it's extraordinary.
It's ridiculous.
Extraordinary. And it can't be good. I mean, they're in very cold weather, icy conditions,
and,
as you say, the unevenness of the pavement can't be good for them.
And the third one is the plantar fasciitis.
Is it?
And this is one of the most common causes, and it's a heel pain.
You sure it's not fasciitis?
It is fasciitis.
Right. Fasciitis, you said.
Yeah, well, the same thing.
Fasciitis.
But it is fasciitis, you're right. It's a heel pain. It's caused by inflammation of the connective tissue, stretches from the heel to the toes. You need specialist shoes with good support to avoid this. It's essential. If you've developed this, you get it treated immediately.
Special shoes?
Yeah. And
you've got some of them, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. And at home, you should also have a foot roller to massage under the feet every time you come in.
You could get the housekeeper to do that.
And you should stretch out your Achilles tendons regularly. My housekeeper has enough duties already.
Yeah.
And
has she finished sewing on the buttons on the shirt, by the way?
Yes, she brought that back. That's not a problem.
Does it look better?
Well, it will be.
Now, a couple of tweets to read out to you, Ray, the quiz.
OK.
Carl says, well done, Mike Graham. You gerrymandered Porky into a blithering wreck. Ha ha, 3 out of 10 yet again for the man who knows everything.
Oh, and you feel proud about that, do you?
Well, listen, I just do what you ask me to do, which is to give you a quiz on a subject that you've chosen. Yavon Juan says, you should make the quiz multiple choice and give Mike Parry a fighting chance. And then here's one from Robin, who says, only 3? I got 4, and I never worked for the FA. And here's one from Craig, who says, Porky, get your housekeeper to sit you down and teach you some facts. You need to learn more stuff. Hashtag thicko.
That's very nice. This is all very nice, isn't it?
And Mars says,
I'd like anybody else to come in here.
You asked for a load of sympathy. You're not getting any.
And try to beat off these ludicrous questions. Yeah. Ludicrous.
Mars says, how about giving an answer and ask Porky to guess correct question? And then finally from Scott, he says, it's no surprise you got the sack from the FA, Porky. Hashtag clueless.
I didn't get the sack. I moved back into mainline journalism after correcting a position at the FA which is incorrectable. I did a brilliant job and helped them to rebuild their communications department as it is today, one of the most efficient in the world.
Yes.
Right, now we're going to Birmingham later.
We are, yeah.
What are we going to do after that?
We're going to come back.
I know that, but what I mean is, once we've seen the people of Birmingham and hopefully had a great show there, are we then going to go around the rest of the country?
Yes, we are, yeah. But we've got a lot of plans in place, but nothing kind of concrete yet.
Well, the thing is, we've got to see how Birmingham goes.
We keep arguing about where to go, you see. I'd quite like to go to Liverpool, I'd quite like to go to Glasgow, quite like to go to Hull.
Well, we have been invited to a large number of places, folks, and we are going to be on the move after Birmingham. But we have to get Birmingham out of the way because it's a bit of a staging post for us.
It is.
We've been made to feel extremely welcome by the Birmingham Repertory Theatre.
True.
Which is one of the leading theatres in this country. We're delighted to be there. We're delighted that they wanted us to perform there.
They've been doing the King's Speech there, you know.
And we are really, really looking forward to seeing you all in Birmingham tomorrow night.
It's tonight.
Tonight. Can't wait to get there.
Yeah, all right,
see you later.
Don't turn up late for it, because, I mean, it is the Two Mike show. If you don't turn up, you know, that'll be a disaster.
Yeah, most people only want the one mic,
Hope
really.
the trains don't go on strike or anything. Don't forget to follow the Two Mics, at the Two Mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mics TV.
You're lying to the audience. That's a sin. You could be fired for that.
A sin?
Yes.
Really?
Lil tibial band. Lil tibial. No. hang on. Lilot iblali. Ilotibial. Ilotibial.